All right, hey guys, welcome back to another Maybe Monthly Vlog. This is for August 2024. I almost said August 20th. No, it's August of 2024. So before we hop into it today, just want to thank everybody for the continued support. As usual, you guys are awesome, and I appreciate it. So just want to get that out of the way. So the first kind of small topic I wanted to do was a follow-up to last week. Usually I like to get these videos out at the beginning of the month, but last week was Gen Con, so we had all the new stuff for Champions, a little bit of new stuff for Champions, but mostly for the second edition of Legendary, and that kind of consumed a lot of that time, so didn't want to inundate you too much with just me talking to the camera. So, we had discussions about that. If you guys are interested in checking that out, go check those videos out from last week. But I gave some speculation on certain things and kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen. But the main thing I posed was, what are you going to do with your first edition, given that the second edition is coming out? And I did put a poll up, and I did want to go over the poll and kind of talk about my thoughts now that I've sat with it for about a week, and what I plan on doing with mine. So yeah, so if you, I don't know if you can still vote on the poll or not. I don't know how these polls work, but I posed the question: given that the second edition will be replacing a hero with a new hero, what will you be doing with your first edition? So I gave a few choices. Now, the hero that's being replaced is Deadpool. So the core Deadpool character is no longer going to be available. I think based on what I read on BGG, it's like a licensing thing or whatever, and they're not going to be able to do it anytime soon. This and that. So the original core set Deadpool character is no longer available, and it'll be replaced with Miles Morales. So given that, the options were keep it. I'm not buying the second edition. That was option number one. Number two is use both core boxes. Treat the second edition heroes as new heroes. Option three is no longer use it. Completely switch to using the second edition. Option four is mix of the two. Keep what you want from the first and second edition. And finally, other. So I'll set other aside because only 2% of people voted on other, which is probably just one person. So 20% of you guys said you're going to keep your first edition and not even buy the second edition. 22% said that you're going to use both of them and treat the second editions as like new characters. So you've got Black Widow and Black Widow second edition, Captain America second edition, so on. 14% said you're no longer going to use your first edition and just use the second edition. And 43%, which is the option that I was least likely to do myself, was mix of the two and keep what you want from both editions essentially. So if you prefer the old version of Black Widow over the new one, you're going to use that one and not use the new one, and vice versa or whatever. That's honestly the one that I would be the farthest from doing because I have some weird OCD. I got to use everything or none of it or whatever. So I was mostly leaning towards completely switching out the first edition for the second edition stuff. I kind of toyed with the idea of just like having both, and then you just use whichever one comes up if you're using a randomizer or whatever. But I was definitely going to buy the second edition. I'm not going to not buy the second edition. So question number one is, at what point do you feel it's appropriate to upgrade from a first edition to a second edition? I think for a lot of people, if you've been playing this game for a long time, then you don't feel as bad about upgrading it because, you've gotten plenty of use out of it. But if you just got it within the last year or two, how do you feel about switching it out for a second edition? I got into Marvel Legendary in December of 2017. And so by the time the second edition comes out, I'll have had the first edition for like 7 years. So 7 years is a long time to be playing something. So I completely feel justified in switching it out. So does that kind of, change your perception on whether or not it's worth switching out? Are the changes drastic enough that you feel like your old edition is no longer relevant? If it's just a fresh coat of paint, if it's, where do you find that line? Where's that balance of saying this is so not the same as this, so I don't really need it? Or this is so much the same as this, it's 99% the same, I don't need it. Whereas it's like 70% the same, so is that 30% difference justifiable? Yeah, I'd be interested to know what you guys think. How long have you been playing Legendary? And at what point do you feel you can move on to a second edition or something? Now, the big thing about wanting to not completely lose my first edition was because Deadpool. Now, it's not because Deadpool himself is like a amazing character and all this other stuff, but it's just the idea of losing access to something that I didn't have before. And that completionist kind of mindset of like, well, I can't do this anymore, so I need this other thing, right? So where was that line drawn out on that part, and what what we're gonna do about that? So my original thought was, it's not worth it. Let Deadpool go, and then I just have the second edition, and we just go from there. But then you're like, well, I didn't want to lose the character, and nothing's really stopping me from just taking Deadpool from the core set and throwing it into the new thing, and then just having him as an extra character, and then still switching everything over. But then you kind of run the risk of like, well, for it looks different than everything else because all the artwork's the same on Deadpool, but everything else has been updated. So that's kind of a funny thing. So I remembered, and in fairness to that BGG thread, it's in there, and I might have even said it when I was going over it, but back in like 2015, right? Marvel Upper Deck did this like Marvel 3D thing where it was like these like trading cards, and then there was some promos in there, and the main promos were there was like Man-Thing and Howard the Duck, Spider Slayers, and Circus of Crime, and these are just like brand new content, not available in an expansion. Like it's a promo thing that's brand new content. And later on, they did add those into Revelations, and like that, it was like half that expansion. So if you got the 3D stuff and then got Revelations, you got some duplicates, but at least it made it available to everybody. But one of the things they did in those promos was alternate artwork for some of the core heroes. So like Black Widow, I think the Hulk, but Deadpool was one of them. And so I scoured eBay. I don't have everything yet, but these here it's alternate artwork to the core box Deadpool character. So here's the rare. Random Acts of Unkindness. It does the exact same thing, but the artwork's different. And then I just dropped it down here. But then this is Oddball. Again, alternate artwork, but does the exact same thing. And so I've still got some of the other ones. I had to get some different sellers to get the cards for them. I've got my 5 Oddballs. And I've got my rare here of Random Acts of Unkindness. So we're still waiting on the rest of the cards. But to me, this is the perfect solution because the character, presumably the only character that's not there is Deadpool. Then that means that I can use this stuff in place of that and then still upgrade everything else, assuming everything else is the same. And you know what? Maybe this will come down later down the road and it'll be accessible to everybody, but I was afraid that it wouldn't be, and with the news happening, these might get sold up or bought up off eBay and the prices might go up. So I went ahead and did that. I think I spent around $30 when everything was said and done, so it's kind of pricey for 14 cards. But my peace of mind, it was worth it. So that's my solution. I'm going to be switching everything from the first edition from the second edition of the second edition. I'm using all the new stuff, retiring all the first edition stuff, and then for Deadpool, I'm using this. And I have a fun idea on what I want to do with my first edition stuff. I've got like a little like art project related that I might be doing with it. So we'll see. When we get closer to that, we'll worry about that. I still want to do, when the second edition comes out, do a comparison video of the first and the second edition stuff. So we'll be doing that when that comes out, but it's not till next year, so we've got a while. Anywho, speaking of Deadpool, the rest of this month, obviously we're doing Deadpool stuff, so we've got the Deadpool 1 playthrough we just did on Friday, I'm sorry. Coming up this Friday, we have Deadpool 2, then Deadpool Wolverine. And the last playthrough of the month is like Deadpool adjacent related. But it happens to be playthrough number 300. And so I did something special for it. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I was just going to randomly do it. But it all worked out. Like a perfect storm of Deadpool being goofy and kind of like outside of the normal boundaries of stuff. Playthrough 300. This fun idea. So I can't wait for you guys to see that. It's funny. I rewatched it and it's really funny. So we'll talk about it more next month after you guys have seen it. But I went through some physical pain. And not just from what you saw in the video, but later on. So again, we'll talk about that later. For Marvel Champion stuff I've got going on the rest of the month, we're going to be doing the weekly one-shots. And so I've been doing a lot of... I've been doing mostly my own deck building I kind of like built a couple decks that I found on Marvel CDB since I've kind of wanted to do my own deck building to just kind of see a characters play better. So like I found some Jubilee stuff to like get a better idea how she works. But for the most part, I've kind of just like cobbled together decks to see if they work. And basically what I'm doing is building the deck out and then kind of getting rid of stuff I don't use and switching out for other stuff. Because I end up having more ideas than will fit because I'm restricting myself to 40 cards. And so I have stuff that like I get more than the 40 obviously. And then I kind of see what works and what doesn't and swap out things and things like that. So I've been working on that. So we'll see how those work out. They're nothing special, but they work. So, you know, I feel better about my deck building ability, but it's by no means anything amazing. So I've built my own decks. We'll be doing them weekly one-shots as long as they're doing them. That's probably what we'll be doing for the foreseeable future. I did do a whole playthrough of the Rise of Red Skull campaign, but it got kind of boring because I'm using you use the same hero and I'm using the same deck and it worked the entire time. So I didn't feel great about it after doing it. So if you guys want to see any campaigns of Marvel Champions of any of the boxes, let me know if you guys would be interested in that. But I think I don't really feel like doing that. So yeah, so that's kind of the housekeeping there. I've got some Solo Sunday stuff coming up. So yesterday we did Forges of Ravenshire. I've got Windmill Valley coming. I've got Stone Spine Architects, which is back there. There's a few more things. I want to do Arc Nova, Barcelona, especially because the expansion for that's coming soon. So there may be some of that stuff sprinkled here and there. But yeah, we're keeping it moving here. But the main topic of today is board game upgrades. So the past month or so, I've been kind of just getting component upgrades here and there. And, you know, without realizing it, you know, if you buy dice for Marvel Champions or Legendary, I mean, or, you know, use little tokens or shards for your shards or like whatever, those are board game upgrades. And so I was really interested to know what you guys use for your Marvel Legendary, Marvel Champions, and other games, kind of your favorite upgrades. And I've never really compiled my upgrades for Legendary in like one place, so I thought this would be a nice place to kind of talk about what I use. And because people ask in comments like what this is and that is or what it's for, and this is kind of just a nice one-stop shop for that. So the first thing are these Gamegenic trays here. I love these things. I've got like 3 or 4 of them for some different games, but I have a Legendary one and I have one for Champions. And you guys have seen these, but I've never really maybe talked about them, but these are nice. They come different colors and they come with these trays. You can also buy other trays to fill these out and change them out. So if you don't like the big card-shaped one, you can use like 2 of the smaller ones or buy them that way. But these are great, especially because they come out, and then you can just set these on the table for what you need and then put the rest of them away, because, you know, I don't need all this stuff all the time, right? So I've got D10s here for my Attack and Recruit. I don't like them because of the fact that they're not spin downs, but they still work really well. But I'd rather have spin downs of these if I could find them. And I'd rather the zeros be 10s. So that's kind of a complaint. I've got orange here for Piercing Energy, but I don't need as many of these as I have. I think these are like little just random gems that I found on Amazon. I have like a ton of these. I just only grabbed a handful because you don't need really that many. I do have each of these containers hold 10 for the Unite the Shards scheme because there's a limit to the shards. And then I use this one for every other instance. And here, these are just miscellaneous tokens for random schemes and other things. So like I have this little Venom Funko Pop that I use for the Terrigen Mist Tornado scheme where you have to move a token across the top. That's what that's for. That's just representing me. Oh, no, that's not that one. That's it. There's the wedding one. Maybe this is the wedding one. There's one of those schemes that something moves across. It might even be both of them. I don't know. Maybe you know, maybe this is the Terrigen Tornado and the wedding one's something else that moves that doesn't require pieces. But anyway, that's for that. I have for my Throne's Favor token, I've got this thing I got from Mesa Verde. We went to this national park a few years ago, and so this little coin, it says Cliff Palace. It's a really cool place, but it's from Mesa Verde. So this is my Throne's Favor token, just a little coin here. And then I have my little Baby Hope is just this little infinity gem. It's a mind gem This came from this like Walmart thing, so I had doubles of this, so I ended up using this for that. So it's just a little thing here. It's a nice little thing. I don't super duper love this, but it works. So those are just like miscellaneous tokens that I have for like various things. You guys see these in almost every video because if the mastermind has something that has a variable attack, I use these here as like these health dials. I think these are MTG health dials, but I use these. These are nice just because stuff changes attack so frequently. It's just easy to like put this on the board and know without having to like calculate in my head or constantly move a dice around or whatever. These are really nice. So I like these. These work really well. You know. You guys have seen this. This is my endgame card. So I found this. It's a trading card from 1991. Yeah, so from 1991. But it's just a thing to slip into the deck between the 9th and 8th card. So when the 9th card is flipped and we do that, this card will be there, and I know to take this off, and then that there's 8 or less cards in the villain deck. Means that endgame effects are in play now, so that's what this is for. So it's just a nice reminder. And then I've shown you guys this. These are just Magic the Gathering lands. Let me get these out here. Yeah, they're just MTG lands, a swamp and a plains for sunlight and moonlight. I've used some other stuff in the past. I was looking for a coin for a long time, but I think this is nice. The artwork's really pretty, and it's big enough. It's obviously the size of a card, so it fits right on top of the hero deck, and then anytime the hero deck changes, because you're having to move this out of the way to replenish the hero deck, this gets put back, and I can reassess it, and I can just look and say, oh, this is up, it's moonlight, this is up, it's sunlight. So this just nice little things like that help make the game a little easier to kind of keep track of stuff, because there can be a lot of stuff to keep track of. So that's what I use for my upgrades, and so long as, you know, if there's anything else that needs to come up, I'll find replacements or suitable things to do that. So what do you guys use? I mean, I'm interested to know what you guys use for some of those things. If I can get this to close. And you guys see them in my Marvel Champions videos, but we have burger tokens for all of the stuff there. So burger tokens, you know, they are it's like a puffy, like plasticky jelly sticker that you place on a penny. So it fits, a penny is in between there, and then you have this to flip over for 1 and 2. And these are great. I think the buy the same token stuff is probably like the best stuff out there, but they're expensive and the shipping's a pain. I think these are a great alternative to those, and I think these work really well, and they're weighty because of the penny. They're smooth, they're nice to handle, they're just great. I like these a lot. Now, when I got all these, they didn't have ready and exhaust tokens, so I ended up getting, now they do, buy the same token, or not, buy the burger token has ready and exhaust tokens. So I've got these other generic tokens. I don't remember the brand, but they have a bunch of colors, but red works for exhausting. My main beef with these is that, like, when I'm done with my turn, I have to pull them all off and then set them back all out. It's not a big deal, but it can be, like, it's nicer to just, like, have something to flip over. I'm dropping stuff, but it's just nice to have stuff to flip over instead of that, so it's fine. I like those. The one thing that I wish that I liked was I bought these dice for like heroes, like if they're attack and defense and their thwarting changes to keep track of, but I feel like this is clumsy. I don't like it. I feel it's too fiddly and clunky. So I need to find like tokens, like to buy the same tokens of that, and I think I'd like to use those. So I might end up getting those at some point. The other thing that you're going to see in the playthroughs going forward are buy the same token health dials, because I was using those coins, or those dice, and while the dice are fine, they kind of go back in that clunkiness of, like, you have to, like, move it over, and they're not spin downs, and so that's a pain. And then, like, oh, well, the dice I have are the 1 through 6 and then the 7 through 12, which is fine, but it's like, okay, the villain's health is 16, so now it goes down to 11, so I get rid of the 2 dice, the 1 and 6, the two dice that I have that are 1 through 6, I move those off the way, put the dice that's just 11 on there, then I knock the health down to 5, so I remove that dice, take one of those dice, put the 5 out, And then in the rare instance where I have like the villain's got 20 health, I don't have a 20 I can make. So I have to have 2 10s, and it just looks weird, and I think it's clunky. And I don't like the default health dials that the game comes with. So these are really nice. These are super nice. I ended up getting them off of Etsy, because I could have ordered directly from them, but I wasn't prepared to like buy a bunch of stuff. So I just got these. The shipping wasn't too bad, but it was still, I think I spent like $30 for both of these and shipping. So it was still kind of a lot when everything is said and done. But I want to get some of the other tokens from them, as well as some stuff for other games like Ark Nova, which we'll actually going to get into Ark Nova here in a bit. So this is these are nice, and you're going to see these going forward, and I think they look really good. So these are great. What really sealed the deal was D20 had showed some of these, and I liked how they looked, so I got them. But I would say like my biggest, and I think everybody will kind of generally gets to that point, but like the best like just default board game upgrade is probably like metal coins. And so back to my OCDs, I like if a game I can switch out the coins for, but like any other kind of like frequently handled token or like resources aren't upgraded, it really bothers me. So like for a long time, I just used like for these Garfield games, for instance, I just used like the cardboard stuff. And then I was like, well, these are some of my favorite games. So I was like, let me get the metal coins for them. And so like for most of them, all you need to do is the metal coins, because like the wood, or like the resources, like the gold and all that stuff are just actual wooden pieces, and all the meeples are wood. So really the only thing you wouldn't have nicer is the coins. So if you just switch out the coins, you're all good. But Paladins, has another resource of provisions. So I got wooden provisions from Meeple Source, which Meeple Source is great. That's also, you see my Bond videos. I have like this Godzilla and this like Megalodon, which they're just for fun. Like they don't go to anything. But for me, they don't go to anything. So like these are just from Meeple Source. They're just really nice, like wooden little chunky upgrades. So I got these for that. And then, so then everything's like nice and wooden and all that stuff. Like if stuff's already wooden, I don't feel like I need to upgrade it. But, then like I really like their other games. So like we did the playthrough of Ezra and Nehemiah, and I didn't, the bread's the bread, but there are metal coins for that game, but I didn't buy them because I'm like, well, the bread's not, I can't make the bread wooden, or metal, so I'm just going to not buy them. But then I really like them. So what I did is I bought the metal coins from the publisher. And now and Garfield does a good job at that, right? They have like metal coins that are for the game. So all their games, they sell that as an option. So for Ezra and Nehemiah, I went ahead and went to Meeple Source and got wooden bread pieces to swap out for the bread. So that now has upgraded that there. But sometimes you can't really do that for stuff. So one of my favorite games, Tekenu, instead of doing wood for the pieces because they were very expensive, I got the Geek Up bits. So these are on the Board Game Geek store. They're also on Meeple Source. You can find both their products on each other's stuff. But these are great. They're I think some sort of like acrylic or some plasticky. And they're really nice, and they're very smooth. And if you saw the Wingspan video that I did a few weeks ago, you can see there that there are those are Geek Up bits as well. So they're just super nice. They look like the original resource, but they just not cardboard, but plastic, and they just feel really nice. And some of my favorite games, I'd like to make that stuff better. Actually, one upgrade that we're kind of overlooking here are inserts. So as you can see behind me here, folded space is big in my gaming life. In most instances, if I can have a folded space insert for a game, I probably have bought it. There's a couple exceptions to that. Yeah, I just haven't gotten around to it. But folded space, completely goated here. So here's the folded space for Ark Nova. Obviously, you can see folded space for Tekenu, folded space for Paladins of the West Kingdom. And it just makes playing the game better. So I detest baggies, mostly because the baggies they get just weird after a while. I hate pouring the bag. I had a lot of those like things. They're flat, but then like you like button them up on the edges, and then they can hold stuff, and like to pour resources into those. But then you have to like take them out and put them back in the bag, and I hate that. So I like the folded space stuff because you can just keep them in the, although you would put this on your player board, but you can just keep them in the container and then take from here when you need them and then put them back when you're done. And then it's just like, I just take this out and put it on the table. Take this out and put it on the table. The other alternative to that is the bits bins, which you've probably seen in some of my videos, but I've got all these bins here, and these are really nice for just like having player pieces. There's all different sizes. So if there isn't a folded space insert, I will have these in my games, and you just fill it up, and then you close it, and then like, okay, like I need all my blue pieces, so I just pull this out. This is all the player pieces, we're good to go. Or all the resources are in a container, so I can just pop the lid and pull out what I need and put it back when I'm done. And it just makes, it reduces setup. So I like those a lot. If I can't get metal coins, a nice alternative is wooden coins. And so you might have seen, so I did like a Lost Ruins of Arnak video like a long time ago. I upgraded some pieces in there. But Ark Nova is, I think, by far the most egregious example of inadequate coins or inadequate money in a game. So I got these off Etsy. These are really nice. They're same denominations, 1, 5, 10, and 20, but they're really nice wooden screen-printed money discs, which we're going to do Ark Nova playthrough at some point, I'm sure. But yeah, these are great. So I got those. So yeah, so basically, if I can upgrade it, I will try to, especially because with a lot of the Kickstarters and GameFound, like crowdfunding things, like you get deluxe stuff, so it's, you know, it's just like it feels nice to have the premium stuff. The playthrough for Forges of Ravenshire, I didn't end up getting that game crowdfunded. I got it like at retail, and then my local board game store had the upgraded bits. I'm like, I'm just going to buy them because I want them. So I try to upgrade when I can. I'm a little more forgiving on non-upgraded resource components if everything is cardboard, but man, the more that I have metal money, the more bougie I get about it. So like one of my favorite games is Great Western Trail. I need to find money for that game so that I can, you know, switch it out. I've got Pirates of Maracaibo coming. I want to get money for that, and I don't know if there's like official stuff for some of those games, so I have to find something else that I can replace it with. But you know, metal coins are goated for sure. Obviously, sleeves are a big thing. I sleeve everything that I can, even when I don't need to. Like if it's a card that like doesn't get used, like a player aid, I still like to sleeve it. So I know it's a little much, but anyway, that's kind of really it. I just wanted to go over like what some of your favorite board game upgrades are, what you guys use for Marvel Legendary specifically for some upgrades, but like where do you draw the line on upgrades? Where do you find them necessary? Do you just use what's in the box and just roll with it? You know, what is your life with board game upgrades? So that'll be it. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one, and we're just gonna keep it moving this month. More Deadpool and more fun. See you guys later. Bye-bye.